Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today we are, well, I am on my way on my personal account to grind the Pan-Asian light cruiser line because I am enjoying these. And there are already Japanese light cruisers going to come out soon, so I better get on with it really. And well, given the sheer amount of time that I had to spend on the event when they were initially released, I am at tier 5 with the Chung. This ship, well, she actually existed. Although she is mildly politically controversial, I guess, in her in-game representation. Anyway, this is HMS, or this was HMS Aurora. She was an Arethusa class British light cruiser built by the British for the British. And the Arethusas were basically discount Leanders. They were shorter, they had fewer guns, but they were mainly meant for things like convoy work and trade route protection and similar shenanigans. And it was considered that it was good enough. So the Aurora was quite busy during the war, had quite a long career of mainly escorting and hunting down troop transports, supply ships, and similar things. She was busy both in the North Sea, off the coast of Norway, and in the Mediterranean. And then after the end of the war, she was sold over to the Republic of China. Now, at that point, everything there was the Republic of China. That then broke apart, and the ship, together with her crew, well, the crew really together with the ship, decided to join the communist side and become part of the People's Republic of China Navy. That is not how the ship's depicted here, however, because this is still her in her presumably 1948-ish configuration and affiliation, because she is flying the Republic of China flag, so the not communist China, also known today as Taiwan. The ship herself then was I think, bombed by, after she had joined the People's Republic of China Navy, bombed by Republic of China airplanes, and was never really. I think she sunk, and then was raised, but never really brought back into action and served sort of as a barrack ship until the 1960s odd, when she was eventually scrapped. But that was the long career of a ship that started out as a British trade route cruiser. Obviously, the name Chongqing coming from the wartime capital of China at the time, during the Second World War, that was. So tier 5, well, it's not a hugely. It's not any more grind over territory. You do have to spend a little bit of time, but you tend not to linger. And some players might just decide to outright free XP over it. But I figured, well, I might as well play the ship, because that gives everybody else the benefit of taking a look. For those of you who do not just want to free XP over it, or can't because you are relatively new to the game. So, let us compare the discount Leander to the actual Leander, which we have here at tier 6, even though she wasn't technically an earlier model of it. But because of the difference, that makes somewhat sense. Now, the Chongqing, and this is the Republic of China romanization, not the People's Republic of China romanization, which was slightly different. It is all very confusing. But anyway, Taiwanese ship. So, well, technically, you know what I mean, right? Let's not get into it. She gets fuel smokes. Obviously, this being the Pan-Asian light cruiser line, not the regular smokes that you get on the British line. And she does get the deep water torpedoes instead of the single fire torpedoes. She gets one torpedo reload booster, so that reloads. You do have to slightly be careful with it. I'm not sure which tube it reloads, but I think it's the last one you fired. I could be wrong there. I'll have to try that actually. So oftentimes it's better to just fire a tube and then immediately use the reload booster rather than fire both and then try to reload one. And it might have been the first one that you fired or the last one that you fired, I'm not sure. But it generally tends to be the one you don't need. So given that they're side mounted. So how does she compare? No hit points, no armor. She was in reality actually more thinly armored than the Leander, so this is accurate. These ships were made out of tinfoil more or less, because they had to save weight because they were built under treaty limitations. So saving tonnage meant they could build more of them. She is also interestingly enough neither as fast nor as maneuverable as the Leander. And she is lacking one turret, but she has a slightly faster base reload with 6 seconds. And forward in, she's got the same firepower as the Leander. The range is lower, but she does get something that the British light cruisers don't get, and that's high explosive shells. So we actually have a somewhat usable HE shell. That said, the AP, this is still 150mm or 6-inch British light cruiser ammunition, and that is generally quite fun. So oftentimes I find myself not necessarily using the HP an awful lot unless it is long-range battleship setting of fire action. Torpedo tubes, again, because the ship was shrunk a little bit, it shrunk in the laundry a little. They didn't have space for a quadruple launcher, which means we get the triple launchers. That said, these are deep water torpedoes, which means they can't hit destroyers, but that's okay because they can hit everything else, and they reload faster. They are just generally better than the British torpedoes, but you only get triple launchers. However, you do have the single torpedo reload booster, which means that once a battle, you can get 9 of these torpedoes into the water. 2 on one side and 1 on the other. The AA is a bit worse than on the Leander, which sounds about right as well. And the concealment is better, given that it's a smaller ship. This does make sense. But that's a tier 6 comparison. So how does she match up against the Emerald? Well, first of all, the Emerald's got single turreted guns. She does get pretty much the same hull as the Emerald, just with less hit points. And again, quite comparable. The engines are not quite as good as on the Emerald and the Leander. But yeah, the Emerald might have an additional gun, but these are single emplacements all around the ship. So she does not get all 7 on target, whereas the Chung can get 4 on target bow in, which is quite nice. And interestingly enough, her AP is actually even doing a little more damage. But again, the range is not the greatest on these guns, which is, again, okay. Good trade-off. And she does get the high explosive shells. Obviously, the Emerald gets loads more torpedoes, but with shorter range and doing not quite as much damage here. And compared to the Emerald, her AA is actually not terrible. Again, you're not going to shoot an awful lot of planes down. You don't have a defensive AA or anything, but it's starting to show. And more importantly, the 7-kilometer base concealment, which is quite nice. Which brings us to the setup. You get to pick between, I think, max 3% speed or 2% hit points. The rest is the same. It's just confusingly ordered. But you'll always get 7% traverse and 5% AA damage. But you can either choose 2% hit points or 3% speed. I'm going for the speed here, because 2% of not an awful lot of hit points is still not an awful lot. So speed is your friend. So 3% speed, I'm going with that. This is tier 5, so no historical camo on the tech tree lines. I think during the games I have used one of the, I think what's the red alert, can't even remember what it's called. The red and white one, I think I've used that one. I'm just generally using the available camos that give additional XP. So like something like this one. I haven't used this one, but this would be a good one. You could totally use that. 3% speed, 3% max traverse, and XP and silver bonus. I'm mostly using them for the bonuses. You are in tier 5, so I think you can't get the concealment module. Yes, you can't get the concealment module. But let's start from the beginning. Main battery mode 2. The turrets are sturdy enough that they don't get shot off easily. And main battery mode 2 for faster reload, because you do only have 6 guns, only in air quotes, because you're at tier 5 and you have relatively rapid firing 6 guns. So definitely more fire good. The engines, again, were not the greatest, so boosting the acceleration is a good thing. And in slot 3, you sort of got two choices, either using the steering to compensate for the lack of hit points and the fact that you only have a fuel smoke instead of a regular smoke, or you could go for speed if you just want to rely on that and you know. But it would be a nice complement also to the elite bonus. She's not the fastest ship out there to begin with, so given that she's a little less agile than the British, I went with the steering here. Now, this is the commander that I am training for this line. As you can see, it's pretty much almost a destroyer setup, and that's intentional because the higher tier ships are basically large destroyers. They are so squishy that oftentimes you'll just be finding yourself playing stealth torpedo boat with lots and lots of guns. So that's kind of where the setup is going. I have decided not to take the additional def AA, because I figured if you come under concentrated carrier attack, you're not going to survive to use all of them. So it may as well not bother. And she doesn't get the sonar. Instead, I get myself the better torpedo detection, which gives a little boost in terms of dealing with destroyers, especially also early on, because you immediately get to benefit from this. But yeah, other than that, it's going to be the more of a destroyer setup than anything else. And one more item here. I have not used the preventive maintenance pack for more hit points, because once again, 3% of not an awful lot, still not an awful lot. I mean, you could kind of try to compound it with the respective elite bonus if you feel like you'd need a couple more hit points. I personally don't necessarily. I'd rather have some stealth, especially that I can't fit the concealment module. So with that setup, we're down to a 5-second turn time, which is very comfortable. A 5.7-second reload on these guns. And again, it's nice that they have AG, but the AP is fun. And the concealment is still at 708 because that doesn't get taken into account until we are actually in the battle, where we are heading right now. And I would like to direct your attention to the player in the Rio here on my team, Herme. I'm not sure, it might be of Greek origin. Who is? These are just two random battles I played, this is more of a coincidental division sort of thing. Anyway, we are playing Silent Shoal base capture against Fuso, New York, Derflinger, Omaha, Exeter, and an Okotnik. It is technically a tier 6 battle, but I think the only two tier 6 ships in the game are the enemy Fuso as well as the Farragut bot on our side. So I am spawning right side, and I am going to, take care of this flank really, because that's something you'll often find that players neglect in these tiers. First things I do is I switch over to the armor piercing and torpedoes on narrow spread. There is the Rio that I mentioned, the aforementioned Rio. So generally what I observe in these tiers is people just going on flat in the middle and nobody worrying about whatever comes down this flank here, which is where I'm going. And interestingly enough, the Rio is going as well, which is a very good sign. It means that somebody has played this map before and knows that usually about 3 or 4 ships are coming down this way. So let's get ourselves into a position. I can obviously spot for the Rio, and I can take care of some destroyers if they decide that they want to come in. Now, again, you have deep water torpedoes. Deep water torpedoes can't hit destroyers. They can't hit enemy destroyers, and they can also not hit friendly destroyers. They go straight through them, or well, underneath them, really. Keep that in mind, because many people forget that, even in higher tiers. So we have the Omaha here spotted, and the Okhotnik. So the AP was the right choice. Hello, Mr. Okhotnik. Let's put on some pain here. And yes, you only get 6 guns, but the Okhotnik doesn't have any torpedo range, although I might be in range. Now, these torpedoes are not meant for the Okhotnik. They're meant for the Omaha. So I'm blind aiming here. But just reversing in case any Okhotnik torpedoes are on the way. I think that thing's got like 3.5 kilometer range or something. So he doesn't seem to have dropped, but the Omaha is coming in, and he is coming in hot. So he's taken one of my torpedoes, and he is basically rushing a Rio de Janeiro, which is a very, very bad idea. So look, you got your 4 torpedoes away. Oh, look, you got some torpedo hits in. Oh, look, you're dead. Your contribution to the game has been appreciated. Next up, that Okhotnik is now behind the island, and there's the Derflinger, so it's a good time to use that torpedo reload. Can I do something about the Okhotnik? Not sure, but Rio engages Derflinger, so Derflinger engages the Rio, so I'm helping out. Notice that 150mm into the stern section of a Derflinger is perfectly capable of, or bow section, perfectly capable of penetrating. Can I get the other torpedoes away? No, he goes behind the island. But given that he's been busy engaging the Rio and the Okhotnik's buggered off, yep. Goodbye, Mr. Derflinger. Which leaves that Exeter. Exeter is not without danger, but he's firing high explosive at me, so he doesn't really know how to Exeter. He does have single fire torpedoes, however, so I'm holding off with my torps just to see where he's going. Once spread out, this is more just to push him away, and then yeah, there come the torpedoes. And if he decides to fire armor piercing, then I'm in a little trouble. So second set of torpedoes out in this general direction, and get him to dodge the torpedoes, which he mostly accomplished. Now the Rio is down to half health, but he's got an Okhotnik to play with. And yes, the Okhotnik's got a lot of torpedoes, but Rio has got lots of secondaries, so that sort of probably evens it out. And I'm still just pushing the Exeter away and keeping him engaged because I don't really have great shots at the Okhotnik. He now smokes up, but not before taking another one of my torpedoes. And because Exeter has absolutely no armor, the armor piercing here is really doing the work. Might I help out with the Okhotnik and see if I can get that thing killed? Nope, I missed. So now splashed harmless around it. There come the torpedoes. And the Rio takes him out with the secondaries. Now, if the Rio survives that one, let's see if we can keep him alive by engaging the Exeter. Hello, Mr. Exeter. Look, and he's still firing high explosives, so he's reasonably harmless. He's probably got torpedoes away again, but yeah, there they come. Okay, so single spread torpedoes. For a more, and he's getting hammered by the Rio as well, but he's outside range of the Rio's secondaries, I think, at this point. There might be torpedoes from the other side, but yeah, he's decided to turn around to get his torpedoes on the other side away, which means he's now dead, because he hasn't been able to fire his guns, because the turret traverse on the Exeter is measured in geological terms. There come the 2 of the torpedoes, but that's not where I was going. So we're pretty much done here. There's just a Fuso left, and there's 4 of us. But you never know how this goes. That's a Fuso in a tier 5 game. Well, he's top tier against 2 battleships. He might still be able to kill those 2, but I still doubt that the Fuso has a chance. Anyway, we're going for the cup here in the meantime. So well done, Rio. It's always appreciated. It's always appreciated to have somebody actually help out on the flank, because we've taken down the Omaha, the Derflinger, the Okhotnik, and the Exeter. with the 2 of us and the Rio taking the brunt of the damage, as he should, because he's in a battleship, and I'm in a very light cruiser. So now we're just waiting for the cup to pass, and while that's happening, I can have a quick chat about this ship. I like this ship. I mean, well, technically, we were supposed to be doing this at the end of after the end of the second battle, but I'm going to kind of preemptively talk about it a little bit already, since I've got the time here. I like this ship. It's especially the armor piercing is actually quite fun. The 150 mils. In higher tiers, you're getting the more destroyer caliber guns, but here you're a proper light cruiser. And Fuso takes out the New York. Well, yeah, he's trying. He might still get the other battleship. We'll see. but we will probably cap out before that happens. No, I like the ship. It's definitely a good sign of what's to come. Very, very squishy ship, low HP, and it needs to be played carefully, but at the same time with the torpedo reload especially, and if you can use the armor piercing on these 150s, you actually dish out really a lot of damage. And there we go. 2 more ticks, and there we go. We've capped out. So well done, Rio. And I do end up coming on top of the team because mostly because the Devlinger hasn't been paying any attention. So if you are in a battleship and you see one of those things, be aware that they have long-range deep water torpedoes that hurt, and she can put out quite a few of them. So yep, there we are. And then my commiserations to the Fuso, who has done what he could, but yeah, sorry, mate. Then I played just another battle. And look who I found on my team in the second game. We are top tier this time, and it is a carrier battle, technically. You'll know why I say technically in a minute. We are up against Langley, another Devlinger, Omaha, Danae, Hill, Kamikaze, and Clemson. So 3 destroyers, 2 light cruisers, and 1 unfortunate Devlinger. I don't like the Devlinger particularly. It was not a great ship, in my opinion. Anyway, and yes, again, I'm on the same team with the Rio. Thank you, matchmaking. I appreciate it. So let's go. Domination on big race this time. So cap control, and early destroyer punching. You see, this is the thing about these kind of light cruisers. I'm not afraid of any of the other light cruisers, because I have 6 rapid-firing 150 mils with armor piercing loaded and deep water torpedoes and a fuel smoke if I need it. I'm not afraid of the destroyers because I still have 150 millimeter rapid-firing guns. And I'm not necessarily all that afraid of the Devlinger either. So I have a fuel smoke, 150 millimeter rapid firing guns, and a bunch of deep water torpedoes, which are very much capable of hitting it. And I have been recognized. Hello. So where am I going to do it? I'm going to head over to A Cup. None of the destroyers wants to head over to A. That's fine. There are going to be 2-3 ships maybe over at A Cup. So I'm just going to head over there and see if I can keep them busy. I'm not going to rush necessarily into A Cup because they are going to outspot me because I can't fit the concealment module. And you don't have an awful lot of maneuverability towards the islands. So more or less slow down and see what we can spot. Okay, there's the Danae. Hello, Mr. Danae. But there are destroyers in A Cup. I know that because it's been captured and I can't see them. A little more lead. But yeah, so we've got the Clemson and the Kamikaze. Now, obviously, my torpedoes are no use against these guys, but that's not the point. I'm more than happy to have these 2 destroyers here, and it looks like the Kamikaze is coming in. That's, by the way, why you are fitting the propulsion mod. Now, I'm using the fuel smoke to deprive the Kamikaze of a torpedo lock, and because it's tier 5, so what you can't see doesn't exist. And that means I can hammer the Kamikaze with impunity while they're all busy trying to kick the V170 to death on our team, which doesn't seem to have worked particularly well so far. So I'm just going to go to town here on these guys, and the Clemson is now targeting me, which means there might be Clemson torpedoes in the way. But I'm not super afraid of that because the Clemson is now very dead and the Danae is just getting taken out by the Rio. Well done. That leaves the Kamikaze. And then we've cleared up. The Kamikaze is dead as well. Well done, Rio. Double strike. And that leaves me with the Devlinger. Hello, Mr. Devlinger. What are you doing? Okay, Devlinger is reversing, but player 3 enters the game. Hello, Omaha. Okay, torpedo reload and drop 1 on the Devlinger as well. I think Omaha wasn't a turn, so I should have let those a little bit more. But still, it's an Omaha. And interestingly enough, I don't seem to be able to punch through the belt armor of the Omaha, which is quite fascinating. But I have landed 1 torpedo and shot off his rudder. which means now I just need to turn bow in and avoid any incoming Omaha torpedoes. Omahas generally have a bit of a problem with over-penetration. I'm on the receiving end if you're shooting with large caliber, but yeah, like that. So fuel smoke again, what you can't see doesn't exist, and then we'll just stop next to him and kill him if I can't stop over-penetrating. Okay, there we go. Kill assist, Wakeful takes him out. And that Derflinger is probably wondering how that went so how that all went so wrong so quickly. By the way, you may have noticed that there are not an awful lot of airplanes going around, and I'm not sure why that is. I mean, I know why. That poor Derflinger, look at it. And yeah, armor piercing in the bow section. That's what you want to do. And Derflinger is dead. Okay, there's some dive bombers, but so that thing's dead. No problem. I'm not. Yeah, the V170 is on relatively low health, but yes, the enemy Langley is AFK, which means all these torpedoes are not going to do anything because it's an AFK carrier. But I'm going to leave that to the destroyers to kill because they've been playing nice and aggressively, and it looks like the V170 has done its job there as well. So I'm going to leave them the kill there. I've already sunk 2 things and quite happy with the battle result. We'll just grab the Confederate and do farm a little bit more damage. Maybe we can do 50,000 for a nice round number. Yeah, you're not going to be able to torpedo that thing. He's AFK. So yeah. Anyway, the Chung is a nice ship. I like the ship. It took me a battle or two to get my head around it because I was coming from sort of the Jinan approach, and after double checking what guns this thing actually had and using the armor piercing almost exclusively on it, it turns out that yes, this is actually a really nice ship. And for tier 5, quite a fun little light cruiser. So definitely been enjoying the gameplay. I'm not going to keep it because I don't play tier 5 all that often, but if you are looking for, like, if you're looking for a grind, this is not outrageously different from light cruiser play. So it's a gentle start, and it starts you out with like 3,000 less HP than the British ones, which means you basically have destroyer level hit points, which is good because that gets you sort of used to the fact that you can't get shot at in these scout cruisers, and if you're not getting along with this one, it'll only get more difficult. So if that's not your style, anyway, that was a fun grind, and yes, thank you to Herme on the Rio for the ad hoc divisioning, courtesy of matchmaking. Well played. And that's it for me today. Thanks everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.